All right, thank you, Steve. The big story today involves the defection of the Soviet superstar Alexander McGillney. We'll take a look at the story next. We'll take you to Moscow for the Soviet reaction. We will go live to Buffalo, talk with the Buffalo Sabres general manager Jerry Meehan. They're the team that brought him out. We'll also take you live to Saskatoon. Pat Quinn, the man that turned around the Vancouver Canucks, he's hoping to get Larian off for next season. We'll hear from Pat Quinn. He's standing by. Don Whitman will speak to us from Chicago. And CBC Radio's Fred Walker, just back from Stockholm, will join me in the studio. The defection story in hockey.
Right now, let's go to the French Riviera for an annual event which consistently attracts the world's top triathletes. We join Steve Armitage and Steve King at the Nice Triathlon.
In the 7-year history of the Nice Triathlon, the man to beat has been 5-time winner Mark Allen. Allen has missed the last 2 years, but he's back and ready.
I've had very, very good luck here. I haven't been here for 3 years, not since 1986. Things have changed, the course has changed, and this year the field is probably as deep as it has ever been for this race. So for me to come back and win, it's going to be a much more difficult task than I've ever faced before here.
Hot on Allen's heels is sure to be fellow American Mike Pigg.
Well, right now, Mark Allen's the best I've ever seen him. And to beat him, I have to have the best race of my life.
Also from the U.S., Scott Tinley, second 3 times, third twice in Nice. Europe's challenge will again be led by last year's winner, Rob Barel of Holland.
I feel I'm pretty strong at the moment. I'm in good shape. But the competition will be strong too. It's just a new race.
The local favorite will be Yves Cordier. He was 4th last year. Few know the course better than Cordier. The favorite among the women will be Paula Newby-Fraser, a winner in last year's Ironman in Hawaii, which should do wonders for her confidence.
I think it was very important psychologically because up until that race I never really thought that I could beat a lot of the women I had beaten, and just doing it has made me realize that I can't beat them if I want to.
Australia's Jan Wanklin, who now lives in the United States, was 2nd last year, and she's expected to challenge Fraser. The Puntous twins from Kelowna, BC won't be far behind, and they're never far apart. An outstanding field for the stiff challenge of a 4-kilometer swim, a 120-kilometer bike ride, and finally, a 32K run. so, with final early morning preparations complete, 450 athletes from 17 nations get set for the swim to start the 1989 Jeep Nice Triathlon. And Steve King, before we get the athletes into the water, why don't you rate the course for us?
Well, it's a total distance of 4 kilometers. That's slightly longer than the Ironman course distance. They also have 2 sharp turns to make, one at 800 meters and one at 2,450 meters. They also have a very nerve-wracking Le Mans type start to contend with.
Le départ est donné, effectivement, voilà, c'est extraordinaire, c'est absolument fabuleux. On a attendu sous un temps absolument merveilleux aujourd'hui ce départ, et je dois dire, comme tous les
So the athletes are in the water to get this Nice Triathlon underway. And Steve King, this is always a very dangerous moment in the triathlon because there is always the fear that you might get kicked in the head.
Absolutely, and remember there are jellyfish out in this water as well. Temperature, we understand, is a cool 19 degrees centigrade. That's why a lot of the athletes are wearing the wetsuits. Very few triathletes now don't have a wetsuit because they do know that it cuts down the time too. So they'll be jockeying for position. Some of them just want to settle in behind the leaders there and start drafting off them. You can see we've got 3 lead groups there, 3 men spearheading packs.
Steve, would there be a favorite among the men in the swimming?
Well, Yves Cordier, of course, the local man, he wants to be out front. This is his forte. We have a West German in there who's usually out front. But amongst the others, there's American Rip F. Silstein. I can see he's already close to the front there, drafting in second place.
The swim nicely underway in the 1989 Nice Triathlon. 4 kilometers in the Bay of Angels. And as Steve King pointed out, the water temperature 19 degrees, and that's the reason why they wear the wetsuits.
The other thing I want to mention is the fact that we can pick out who the males and females are out there because the men are wearing the red and white bathing caps and the ladies the blue and white. Just going by us, Patrick Autissier of France. He's ranked number 4 or 5 in the French team, but behind him, right on his heels, the number 1 man, top seed, Rob Barel of Holland. And chasing Rob Barel, drafting right behind him, number 2 seed, Mark Allen, the 5-time Nice champion. The first place lady there looks to be Jan Wanklin. The Australian now living in the States, but not too far behind her, we know is South Africa's Mandy Dean.
Steve, I didn't think it was possible to draft in water, but I guess it is.
Oh yes, the people in front of you, they cut the path for you just like a motorboat does when you're water skiing.
We're looking back at the pack. We're about 10 minutes into the swim, and they're coming up to the first boy.
And it would have been wiser for some of these swimmers to swim wide of this. You can see the congestion that has happened there, and they're going to be losing some precious seconds. Autissier again. He's in about 4th position. There's Mark Allen.
Rob, you're going way left. Rob Barel, you're going way left. He's taking you off course. Go in. Rob, in.
You could hear some screaming and yelling from officials there as they're trying to direct Rob Barel onto the right course.
Somewhere back in the pack is Patricia Puntous of Canada. We asked her to rate the events in the Nice Triathlon.
The bike, I'm scared downhill because there are some places pretty dangerous, but it's a fun course. And the swim, I will be happy when the swim will be over because, you know, the swim starts always like a fiasco. Everybody go over everybody and it's a long swim. So, you know, but the run is the best one.
However, Patricia has to complete the swim first, but there's no question the Puntous twins from Kelowna, British Columbia would have to rate among the favorites in the women's division, Steve.
Absolutely no doubt about that. And this month already 2 fine wins in Miami and Phoenix.
This is the helicopter shot, and the X marks the leaders. You can see the gap that they have over the rest of the field would be about 100 meters.
At least that. It's quite amazing that they could open this up on the men and the caliber that we have in the field today.
We'll be back with more from the Nice Triathlon right after this. Triathlon. I'm Steve Armitage along with Steve King. We have reached the 3-kilometer mark in the swim, and the leader continues to be Yves Cordier of France.
And Rip Silstein in 2nd place. He's a 2nd-tier professional triathlete and an ex-Olympian swimmer. But it's Mark Allen who's the man to beat. He's already this year won 2 of the big races, the America's Paradise in the Virgin Islands and the World Cup race at the Gold Coast in Australia. But Mandy Dean is leading the women's, and she's the lady who came out of the water in 2nd place last year, and she won a trip after winning the South African Ironman competition series. And that's exactly what happened to Paula Newby-Fraser a few years prior. And Paula Newby-Fraser, of course, now resides in California and trains out of there and races throughout the world.
Mandy Dean looking like she's got lots of energy left for the final portion of this swim competition in the Nice Triathlon.
But she needs to open up a big lead on the swim to really try and consolidate it on the bike, because she's not too strong as compared to some of the other ladies when it comes to the bike and the run. And that is Jan Wanklin. And don't forget, Jan Wanklin was 2nd overall last year to Erin Baker. Even though she was 40 minutes adrift, it was a magnificent performance. Erin Baker, unfortunately, not returning to the field this year.
Yves Cordier wearing number 51. He is the leader among the men, and of course the local favorite here in Nice.
He's known as the Sun Prince, in fact, and he's sponsored by the city of Nice. That is Rip Esselstyn. He'll be very happy with this swim. He'll have a tough time holding on, I believe, on the bike and the run, though, but it's great to see him doing so well, and the times are really quite remarkable. I have a tough time myself believing that this is a full 4-kilometre distance, because it appears as though they may get a sub-43-minute clocking, and we have to remember the fastest times over an Ironman course is around 47 minutes. That is Mandy Dean amongst the men there. She's really making her way through, ploughing through, a lot of strength. But it's what they do under the water that really counts. That's what gets them through the water faster.
And she is trying to draft the closest swimmer to her. She's trying to swim on the heels of the swimmer, which makes it a little easier.
Certainly does. And amongst the men she's with, there is Kenny Glar, Anderson of Sweden, Rob Barel, Otissia of France, and Mark Allen.
And at this stage, I would think that they are thinking bike. They're getting so close to the finish of the swim that they have to be thinking the transition area onto the bike.
They do, and one of the other reasons for drafting is you tend to believe that the man ahead must know where he's going. And we've seen in the past races where they've just followed the person ahead and they've gone off course. Fortunately, this is a very well-marked course, except for a section that we saw earlier where Barel was going slightly off course. But they're heading directly to the beach now, and they've only got a few meters left to swim.
It is Yves Cordier of France in the lead. He is wearing cap number 51. As Steve King pointed out, they call him the Sun Prince. He's sponsored by the city of Nice in this competition. It'll be interesting to see what sort of a lead Mandy Dean has as the leading woman. Here it is now, Cordier and Rip Esselstyn from the United States, an Olympic swimmer, heading for the beach, and it looks as if Yves Cordier will be first out of the water. And Steve, the legs at this stage are a little wobbly.
I'm sure they are, but he looks fine. This man's done this race 4 or 5 times already. And remember, he placed 4th overall last year, and he wants to be right up the front there. That home crowd, what an encouragement he's going to get from them. Rip Esselstyn in 2nd place, and they've really opened up a gap on the 2nd group.
Now it's up the stairs and along the promenade area here in Nice to the bikes.
And we have to remember the transition is almost the 4th discipline in a triathlon. They practice changing into their cycling gear and then from the bike to the run. Most of them have their wetsuits stripped even before they get to the bikes. You just watch how fast they make that move.
Steve, you're hoping for about, what, 30, 40 seconds here?
Well, I would imagine that he'll be out there within 25 seconds onto the bike, yes. But the 2nd group, look at the distance they opened up. It's really surprising how much they did open up. Almost 2 minutes by the looks of it. And here goes Yves Cordier already heading out onto the 120-kilometre bike route.
Looks like he's got about a 2-minute lead on the rest of the field, and his swim time 42 minutes 43 seconds as Rip Esselstyn of the United States heads out 2nd in the bike portion. Now back in the water as the rest of the field come into the transition area.
And it appears to be the 1988 champion Rob Barel of Holland who's coming out there in 3rd position. You can see him ripping off that wetsuit. With him is Otissia of France. Also in there is Mark Allen, just a few meters back, so he's doing very well. And Scott Tinley is back in the pack there somewhere too. And don't forget, that man's placed 2nd and 3rd on a number of occasions, and swimming is his worst discipline. There's the first lady. It is indeed Mandy Dean, this year reverse positions with Jan Wanklin. I think she's got about a 10-second lead. There is Jan Wanklin now coming up. Just about 10 seconds between the two of them.
Jan having a little difficulty with that zipper on the back of her wetsuit. This is Mark Allen, the man that everybody is picking to win this event, a 5-time winner of the Nice Triathlon. What a perfect record he has got competing in Nice.
And we have the ladies coming out of the water about 2.5 minutes after Cordier exited. Notice what he's doing there. They have their cleats pre-attached to the pedals so that they don't lose valuable seconds. Mark Allen now going off onto the bike course. He's the man to beat. He's already had a phenomenal year, as did his fiancée, Julie Moss, who's already doing well in the race, and she won also at the Gold Coast in Australia, as did Mark Allen.
Heading back now into the transition area as we pick up the women.
And this looks to be Jan Wanklin and Mike Pigg now going out onto his favourite discipline, the bike. That's where he makes up the ground, but he knows he's got a lot of work to do. He knows Mark Allen's in great shape, but he can do it. He can hang on in the bike, but he needs to build up a very big lead to hold on for the run. Kenny Glar also going out there. Kenny Glar was third last year in the Ironman, but this was the winner of the women's Ironman last year, Paula Newby-Fraser of Zimbabwe. And she set a record there, 9 hours, 1 minute, 11th place overall. She wants to win this one. She's got a lot of stakes. She's got a lot of confidence after her Ironman win. Here come the next group of the swimmers coming out of the water. And their time, it's around 50 minutes at this point, including the Puntous twins. There's Patricia ahead there, number 13, and number 14 just behind her is Sylviane and Puntous. And don't forget, they've just come off 2 very big wins in the USTS series in Phoenix and Miami.
And it looked as if Sylviane had a little bit of difficulty getting out of the water there.
Yes, I think she just slipped on something as she was exiting.
And now they head into the Alpes Maritimes. And really, this gives the Nice Triathlon its, I think, distinguishing feature. A very, very difficult bike ride, simply because the hills are so steep and so very narrow.
And also the descents and the turns are really hairy. It demands nerves of steel from these triathletes. The French custom for cycling, of course, are tough technical courses.
Yves Cordier of France is the leader. Remember, he was the first out of the water.
Second place there, Rick Esselstyn. He's holding on. He's doing very nicely at this point. It would be wonderful to see him stay up there if possible.
Esselstyn, an Olympic swimmer, but I wouldn't think that the bike would be his strongest event.
No, it isn't, but it certainly is for this man, Rob Barel, the first European ever to win the Nice Triathlon.
Last year, we were very impressed with his performance on the bike.
We certainly were. Kenny Glar just went through in the pink shorts, but there's the man to watch, 5-time champion Mark Allen. And we have, in Canada, been able to see Mark Allen go head-to-head with this man, Mike Pigg, on 2 previous occasions. Mark Allen came off the bike in second place to Pigg, but went on to win both of those races at Vancouver International.
Mike Pigg taking time out for a little snack there. Always important, Steve, to remember in a triathlon that it is important to take on fluid and to take time to have a little snack every once in a while.
Absolutely. We must remember this is an ultra-distance course. It can certainly sap your energies, and you need to keep hydrated. A very tough, demanding bike course, lots of climbing, lots of hairy descents, as we've already mentioned. But they need to keep that up so that they can also go out there and still run 20 miles. Ironman champion Paula Newby-Fraser now approaching Jan Wanklin and about to take over second place.
The favorite among the men, as we mentioned, is Mark Allen. And what's his secret in the Nice Triathlon? 5 races and 5 victories. A 100% record for this amazing athlete. Let's find out his secret.
The course is fairly suited to me. I like a hilly bike course and a flat run, both of which you find here in Nice. Part of it's luck, you know, to have a good day during a big race is always part luck, part training, and it's always just come together for me here.
California's Mark Allen, who was in the pack coming out of the swim, but as always is expected to make up a lot of ground and a lot of time in the bike race, and that's exactly what he has done. This is one of his strongest disciplines, and as usual, he's doing it well, as is Mandy Dean. Now, she had a 1.5 minute lead on Paula Newby-Fraser, and Fraser looks as if she's about to overtake her. We wondered from Paula, how does she rate the Nice Triathlon on a scale of 10?
Oh, Nice is up in the 9 and 10 range, just simply by virtue of the fact that it's as long as it is. And the bike course is as difficult as it is. You know, it's up there with the Ironman, no question. You know, it's 9, 10. It's hard to say no.
Well, Steve King, she is certainly handling the bike portion very well right now.
Certainly is, and people will wonder something about that bike. It's a Hamilton Satui bike with 24-inch wheels that were especially designed for her to compete in the Ironman. And we know what she did there, a sub 5-hour clocking for that 112-mile bike.
Just part of the magnificent scenery that really makes this Nice Triathlon very, very special as they cycle through the Alpes Maritimes.
And that leader was Yves Cordier, who's doing much better at this point than he was last year. That man is Kenny Glar. Kenny Glar just approaching Kenny there and overtaking you is Rob Barel from Holland. He's moving very nicely. So he'll be wanting to make up ground on Yves Cordier, but Cordier, surprisingly, is holding on extremely well, and I've heard he's even pulling away somewhat.
We'll take a break, but when we return, more of the cycling portion of the 1989 Nice Triathlon.
In Canada, every summer, an unusual cultural event takes place. It is called the Long Weekend. It features strange rituals and the clean, cold taste of a genuine Canadian beer. Molson Canadian. What beer's all about.
For a limited time, the Nissan Sentra comes with a 4-speaker stereo cassette system, 8.9% financing, and air conditioning at no extra charge. Save $1,600 in options and get 8.9% financing on a Nissan Sentra. For $11,899, you can get a hardbody king cab with all these options at no extra charge. And we'll throw in this attractive carrying case for nothing. Save $900 and get 8.9% financing on a Nissan hardbody.
Your Texaco retailer isn't faster than a speeding bullet. He can't leap tall buildings in a single bound. And he's slightly less powerful than a locomotive. But when you need service, he's there. Besides, he's a super guy. Expect more from Texaco.
Will that be all?
You got a phone booth around here?
Still to come on Sports Weekend, the nation's best young amateur athletes take their shot at a title in Saskatoon. The battle lines have been drawn and the chase is on at the Canada Summer Games. From Northlands Park in Edmonton, they're at the post for thoroughbred excitement at the 60th running of the Canadian Derby.
Welcome back to the Nice Triathlon. Canada being well represented in this year's competition by the Puntous twins, currently in 4th and 5th position.
They are Canada's globe-trotting triathletes. These ladies now reside in Kelowna, British Columbia, originally from Quebec, where they had a start as swimmers, then went on to become bikers and runners and top marathoners, but now right to the forefront of triathlons.
And there's Julie Moss, who is the fiancée of Mark Allen, due to be married in December.
But this is the man that will be after getting his title back, Rob Barel from Holland, presently in 2nd place. But chasing him hard, it looks to be Mark Allen.
Allen, as we mentioned, very, very strong on the bike.
He certainly is, and this man has everything going for him this year. We've already talked about his previous wins, set last month when he won in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands over a very tough course, and that included a bike segment known as the Beast, a very, very severe climb, which meant that some of the professionals had to walk their bikes up. That's our leader, Yves Cordier, wearing that aerodynamic helmet. Had a little trouble grabbing some liquid there. One of the things the athletes will have to do is slow down at the aid stations. Some of them will grab bottles and they'll just get splattered around, but this man has got one at last. He's looking very, very strong. I'm really surprised he's being able to hold it this long, but he is in his home country. He knows exactly this course. He's been over every inch of this course many times. This lady, though, Paula Newby-Fraser, what can you say about her? She's done absolutely everything, and she'll be out for a long win. And by long win, I mean something like what Erin Baker did last year, where she established a 40-minute victory over Jan Wanklin. And Jan Wanklin is still presently in 2nd place.
From the helicopter, you get a good look at the Alpes Maritimes as they come through one of the villages en route. 70 kilometers remaining to go in this 120-kilometer bike race in the Nice Triathlon. And there is the leader, Yves Cordier of France.
Mark Allen, what a man. What can you say about him? He's known as the Grip for his ability to just be able to totally focus on the job at hand. And he doesn't look like he's working too hard out there, but he certainly is. But he looks content to settle where he is right now and keep an eye on this man just ahead of him. Rob Barel, he knows he can take him on the run. And it's unlikely that there's any man in the field today who can stay with Allen when he's on form when it comes to running.
This gives you a good idea of how narrow these roads are in the Alpes Maritimes.
And how difficult it is on some occasions for some of the cyclists to avoid partially drafting. You also have the motorcyclists and the cameraman there to contend with.
And there's a good look at the special handlebars that a lot of these triathletes around the world are using now.
Yes, different variations there. Rip Esselstyn has one type. Kenny Glar, known as the Beast from the East, he's using another type there. He's really pumping hard as he motors on. We saw him in Canada last year when he placed 5th in the World Championships in Kelowna. And this man in that race placed 2nd. That's Mike Pigg, known for Pigg Power.
I like climbing in the hills, and I like the company that's out there, all the people from Nice. You know, you have the old-timers on their bikes, you know, riding along with you, saying LA. So it's really an exciting race for me.
Mike Pigg working hard, but as you can see by the expression on his face, clearly enjoying this year's race. This is Yves Cordier of France passing through the village of Gillet with a 40-second lead at this stage over Barel, Alan Pigg, and Serge Leclerc of France. Among the women, Paula Newby-Fraser is the leader, but the Canadian twins, the Puntous twins, are about to move into 2nd and 3rd ahead of South Africa's Mandy Dean. You know, it's amazing how the twins stick together in triathlons around the world.
It's like it's a competition between us too, you know. Sometimes we are together, sometimes we are not, but we don't look, you know, like to finish together. We have the same quality, so if we finish together, fine.
But back to the women's leader, Paula Newby-Fraser. She's had a bit of an up-and-down season so far. She placed 5th recently in the America's Paradise Triathlon in the Virgin Islands, but she was 2nd in the Gold Coast Triathlon in Australia. And just a couple of weeks prior to this one, she was in 1st place in Bakersfield. So she's hot and she's on form.
And again, we can't stress the importance of taking on sustenance. It is really, really vital, especially taking on fluid with the temperature now in the 80s as they continue the ride through the Alpes Maritimes.
And look what's happening there. Rob Barel has just made the pass on Yves Cordier as they made a descent. You've got to have real nerves of steel as you attack this sort of a course. You either go all out or you hold back somewhat. But Barel really went all out, and it looks like we've got a 3rd rider coming up too. And I believe that's Mike Pigg. It looks like it is. Just moving to the left there. Cordier came back through in the centre. He's asking the riders on the motorbikes to move aside for them. And here's Pigg to his left. Now, what they have to be careful is they cannot draft. And look how narrow the roads are there. So Pigg will want to get past. He's asking the motorcyclists to move over as he makes the way to the front. So it's now Mike Pigg out leading the race.
I'm not sure how much Pigg knows in terms of French, but allez simply means go, go, get out of the way. Those cameramen were getting far too close for comfort.
And one man who may be getting too close for comfort also is Mark Allen, because on the 2 occasions they met at the big ones in the World Cup in Australia and America's Paradise, Allen came out in 1st place. In the World Cup one in Australia, Pigg placed 7th overall, and in the America's Paradise he was 2nd to Mark Allen.
A dizzying look at one of the many villages that dot the countryside here in the Alpes Maritimes on a beautiful morning for the Nice Triathlon. Not so beautiful for this competitor.
No, one of the things all triathletes worry about and fear is getting punches and flats, and that's happened to Tinley, in fact. We heard that he's not only got a broken spoke, but a flat. Well, you heard Mike Pigg yelling LA, LA, but he's going too fast for them to be able to hand him water safely. So, unfortunately, he wasn't able to pick up any liquids as he went through that aid station.
A little impatience there, perhaps, on the part of Mike Pigg.
Perhaps, but we have to remember he's a little anxious about opening up the distance between himself and Mark Allen, as this lady, Sylviane Puntous, is anxious to catch up ground on Paula Newby-Fraser.
And she was able to pick up the water with no trouble at all. Just slowed down a little.
That's the way to do it, absolutely, Steve. She's riding very, very well. But these ladies, Sylviane and Patricia, have been training and gearing their training towards the World Championships that will be taking place here in France in August.
We're looking now at Mark Allen, and there is the leader, Mike Pigg, and he hasn't got much of a lead over Mark Allen, who is very strong in the bike ride.
Now, I think he would have needed to establish at least a 2 to 3 minute lead over Mark Allen. But they're coming along towards the Promenade des Anglais into the final 10 kilometers of the cycle portion, so about 110 kilometers out of the way already. Quite an entourage of motorcyclists around these leaders, and you can see they're leading Mike Pigg off there as he heads towards the finish area.
And it looks as if Mike Pigg has gone in another direction.
Yes, I wonder, it looks like they have. They've led him the wrong way, so this man, Mark Allen, has now assumed the lead. That's most unfortunate, but there's Pigg being led back the correct way. That's really something that shouldn't happen in a caliber triathlon like this, and very, very disappointing for Pigg, but hopefully he won't lose too much ground. There's the wheels of the lady. We talked about this bike before, 24-inch wheels. This bike specially designed for Paula Newby-Fraser. I believe the frames are now available. Very expensive though, around $700-800 just for the frame of that bike. The reason being, the lower you are to the ground, the faster you can go. But if you've got smaller wheels, you need to pedal harder. The gears are a lot bigger, but they certainly did well for this lady in Hawaii when she dominated the women's race.
And there's Mike Pigg, who just a few moments ago was led the wrong way and lost valuable seconds to the leader, Mark Allen.
Although that's very disappointing for him, it may have pumped up his adrenaline. You saw him go through the aid station and get a little anxious there and upset, but it may just be that he can make up this ground and get to that transition area before Mark Allen. There's the honour of that at stake, and I know he would want to at least do that. But Mark Allen looking extremely fresh and comfortable. He's using a grip shift system there on his handlebars. That's so he doesn't have to lean down and use the old system that used to be on the down tube.
Steve, we've seen Mark and Mike race in Vancouver, and they often race together in the bike.
Yes, they do. Some people don't realize that Mike Pigg actually started out his athletic career as a runner, but Mark Allen is capable of sub-30-minute 10K runs. And on both occasions in Vancouver, that's where he has won the race.
Mark Allen once again taking on a little food. Not much, mind you, but enough to keep him going. Now, Mike Pigg has just made another move on Mark Allen.
Well, we've talked about Pigg power, and that's an example of it. He wants to get to that transition in first place, even though he knows it's going to be extremely tough as they head towards that 32K run.
They're coming into the transition area now. Again, a very vital part of the race, something that they train for. He comes up the ramp, and he will get off the bike and change into the running shoes for the 32-kilometer run.
And that was a sub-4-hour clocking, including the swim and the bike. So it looks like we could see a new record for the course by one of these two men. And don't forget, the record was set last year by Rob Barel, and that was around 6 hours and 5 minutes.
Now, Steve, who's the better runner? Is it Mike Pigg or Mark Allen?
Well, we've already said that Allen is the better runner, but obviously they've got more than just running to contend with. They've got the heat out there, and it is 32 kilometers. They've already been drained by the 4K swim and the 120-kilometer, very tough cycle ride. You can see wobbly legs as Mark Allen moves up there, but he's just putting his singlet on and away he'll be going. But he'll be chasing Mike Pigg, but I think they'll try and get into a comfortable pace for the first 3 or 4 miles. They need their legs to get attuned to running.
And one of the reasons they have to get those legs attuned is that they pump the cycle something like 200,000 times in the bike ride.
Yes, absolutely, and they'll be trying to maintain revs of around 90 throughout the bike ride. There's Yves Cordier, presently in 3rd place. He made up a lot of ground there in the transition. It took him only 34 seconds. On that quick transition, enabled him to make up ground on this man, number 1 seed Rob Barel from Holland, who's putting on a fanny pack there so he'll have some liquid for the rest of the run. And in 5th place there's Serge Leclerc, the number 2 man of France.
When we return with our coverage of the 89 Nice Triathlon, the 32-kilometer run.
She
Welcome back to the Nice Triathlon. We're looking now at Paula Newby-Fraser, who is about to become the first woman to cross the line in the bike portion of the triathlon.
And it looks like her overall time will be just over 4.5 hours. That's about 32 minutes behind the lead men.
And you can see the preparation that Paula was making as she comes into the transition area. She was beginning to undo her shoes because she'll get rid of those shoes that she used during the bike portion and get into the runners for the 32-kilometer run.
And I believe she'll continue wearing the tri-suit that she has there throughout the bike portion. Yes, indeed she has. No need to change anything. And off she goes, taking some liquids. It's a very, very hot day, even though this race is held 6 months earlier than it used to be.
And again, the transition, very important. You're looking for anywhere from 30 to 40 seconds to get off the bike, get your shoes on, and start the run. And this is the route that they will follow, 16 kilometers out and 16 kilometers back.
Making the turn at La Siesta, and it's not a tough course compared to some because there are really no hills, so it's very flat, which will certainly help both of these men. Mike Pigg, I'm sure, is happy that it is flat, but Mark Hallen, he doesn't care what the course is like. He's really at the peak of his performance at this time. What a wonderful year he's having, and I'm sure he can make it to the finish line in first place. But Mike Pigg, we hope he can hold on. And this lady, she's got some catching up to do. This is Patricia Puntous, who's just come into transition with her sister there, Sylviane, 1 second behind. And they were approximately 3 minutes and 4 seconds behind Paula Newby-Fraser as they came off the bike.
These are the Canadian twins from Kelowna and Steve King. What kind of runners are they?
They're excellent runners. They can do 34, 35 minutes for 10K and previously have done around 2 hours 40 minutes for a marathon distance. There we are, Paula Newby-Fraser looking very, very good. And it was her and Sylviane a couple of years ago in the Ironman that were out in front when Erin Baker came from behind on the run to take the win.
Mark Allen has taken the lead in the run. A 5-time winner of the Nice Triathlon, gunning for number 6. And right now he is in front. And once again, we see Mark Allen taking on fluids. Very, very important to do that at this point in the race.
But this is Rob Barel, presently in 3rd position, and look at the way he takes on his liquids. A special pack there with the liquid wrapped around his waist and the straw leading directly to it. Yves Cordier, 4th placer, he's looking good too. He wants to hold on to this place. Don't forget, he finished 4th last year, was actually elevated to 3rd place after Scott Molina was disqualified. So it's very unfortunate that Molina's not back in the field. It's also unfortunate that Erin Baker from New Zealand, last year's winner, is not in the field. However, this man, Mark Allen, now making the turn at the 10-mile, 16-kilometer point, checking his watch, because he not only wants to win, remember, but he wants to set a new record for the course. He'll hopefully be vying for a sub-6-hour time as well.
I always find it fascinating at this point in the triathlon, especially in Nice, because once he makes that turn, he will be able to see the other athletes on the opposite side of the road, so he'll know exactly how much of a lead he has.
Absolutely, and one of the things that will happen is he will be looking at the other athletes, and they will be looking at him, hoping that they can psych each other out by trying to look really cool and refreshed and as though they've got a lot left in them.
Allen not taking any chances for dehydration, taking on lots of liquids, and we pointed that out, that it is very important to do just that.
One of the other things he remembers as he looks across and he sees Mike Pigg there is that the first 2 years this race was held, they did not have enough aid stations, and this man, Mark Allen, suffered really badly at those 2 occasions.
Mike Pigg trailing Mark Allen now in the run, and he knows exactly what he has to do, and it won't be easy simply because Mark Allen is such a strong runner.
That's right, he's such a strong runner, and it won't be easy because the other man to the left of Mark Allen there is Rob Barel, and Rob has really been working on his running. We know from last year that he has improved when he was able to hold off Scott Molina. Female leader Newby-Fraser looking very, very strong. She's having to dig down deep, though, because she knows the Puntous twins are in form. However, they're in form for shorter distance right now, so I'm not sure whether they'll be able to maintain the sort of speed that we can see Sylviane going at here for the 4:32K.
She doesn't look very comfortable, does she?
No, but I wouldn't look too comfortable after 4 kilometers of swimming and 120K of cycling either.
Well said.
Looks like Sylviane's checking around to see if her sister Patricia's okay. She is okay, she's just slowing slightly.
It's not too often that you see the Puntous sisters running apart.
No, it isn't, but in a few races recently, that's just exactly what's happened. In the America's Paradise, there was a problem there for them, and they split up in that one, as they did in Miami and Phoenix at the USTS races.
This is Mike Pigg, who looks like he might be feeling the effects of the 80-degree temperatures.
Yes, but there's number one, Rob Barel, who appears to be making up ground on Pigg. Yves Cordier still looking comfortable in fourth position, checking his watch, as even though he knows he may not place further up than fourth, he wants to set a personal record, and this man about to set history in the Nice Triathlon, coming up for a 6-time win. He is to Nice as Dave Scott is to the Hawaiian Ironman.
Mark Allen over the final few meters in the 1989 Nice Triathlon, as Steve pointed out, gunning for his 6th victory. He raises the visor in appreciation of the tremendous fan support he's received, and he really is a crowd favorite here in Nice. Up the ramp and across the line. 5 hours, 54 minutes, 29 seconds. That's a record time for this course. The headlines when he won race number 5 said it must be nice to be in Nice if you're Mark Allen. It's unbelievable to think what the headlines will say now, because he has just won this race for a 6th time. He missed a couple of races over the last 2 years after having won 5 in a row, and then he came back to win an incredible 6th race. That time again, 5 hours, 54 minutes and 29 seconds.
And look what happened for second place. Rob Barel has taken Mike Pigg, and he goes over to kiss his mother. It is Mother's Day in France today. There he is, a joyous Rob Barel from Holland. First last year and a jubilant second this year. And a time bettering his last year's time, 6:1:17, his last year's time, 6:05:06.
Mark Allen kissing the medal. What a great race for him. And coming in for 3rd place, Mike Pigg of the United States, and his time, 6 hours and 3 minutes. A good time and a good race for Mike Pigg, who battled Mark Allen out in the run, but was overtaken by Rob Barel. And now Yves Cordier getting a warm welcome from the hometown fans, coming in to take 4th place, and his time, 6 hours and 10 minutes. But the man of the hour, 6 out of 6 races in Nice, is Mark Allen. Here's what the winner had to say.
I'm pretty happy to have won here this year. I skipped 2 years, and to come back to a race you haven't done for a couple of years, there's always that question of, can I do it again? And I really felt like there was, you know, a certain amount of pressure to win, because if I had gotten 2nd or 3rd, people would have said, you know, he didn't win this time. So it's kind of a funny position to come into a race. And this year the number of top athletes was a lot more than last time I was here, so I knew it was going to be a hard one out there.
From a sort of satisfaction point of view, how does this compare with the other 5?
This is by far the best one to win. You know, each time you do a race, to be able to come back and do it again, it's like, oh my God, you know, the number of things that are counting against you are just, they're slowly adding up, and at some point they'll catch me. But it's very satisfying, and you know, right now I feel really relieved to have the race over. I can kind of be a normal human being for a couple days now.
How long does it actually take to sort of feel like a normal human being again after an effort like that?
I'll be pretty sore for the majority of this coming week. I'll probably do a little swimming, a little biking, go to a lot of movies, eat some junk food, have some good ice cream, who knows what, you know, just relax and have a good time.
And if anybody deserved an ice cream, it is indeed Mark Allen, who wins the Nice Triathlon for the 6th time with a time of 5:54:31. The top Canadian, Andrew McNaughton of Quebec, placing 8th. We'll be back with the women right after this.
After months of hibernation, Canadians enjoyed.
We're looking down on the Promenade des Anglais as we await the first woman to cross the line in the Nice Triathlon, and it looks as if it's going to be Paula Newby-Fraser.
And I think she's definitely headed for victory, because for the last few miles she was accompanied by Britain's Nick Kinsey, and I'm sure that really helped her out. Nick has moved ahead slightly, but that's what she needed to get her through that 3/4 stage mark, so that now she's comfortable. It's just psychological. She has to maintain her pace. And I have no doubt she can do that, because this lady, Sylviane, has eased off slightly. She knocked a minute off of Newby-Fraser's lead, and now there's 2 minutes between the two of them, but I don't think she can make further inroads.
The way it's going right now, it looks as if this lady, Paula Newby-Fraser, will win, and it'll be two Canadians finishing in 2nd and 3rd place.
And the 3rd place lady is the lady going past her on the other side of the road. That's Kelowna's Patricia Puntous. And in 4th place now, Julie Moss. In fact, Julie is Mark Allen's fiancée, and they had joint victories in the Australian Gold Coast Triathlon earlier this year.
This is the shadow of Paula Newby-Fraser, the leader in the women's race. And what a giant shadow she has cast on this race. She wasn't that strong in the swim, but she came on much stronger in the bike ride, and she has taken over in the run.
She has indeed, and it's not far to go to that finish tape now, and I've no doubt she can hold on to that pace. Remember, she has Ironman experience, as has this lady, Sylviane Puntous. Sylviane can hold on in there, but her and her sister, again, they're vying for positions there in the World Championships. Patricia's suffering a little bit, but I know she has the guts and what it takes to finish this one off. I just hope she can maintain it and get there in 3rd position. No doubt about our leader, though. Here she is. After winning the 88 Ironman in Hawaii, she's going to take it all today in the 89 Nice Triathlon.
About 50 meters to go now for Paula Newby-Fraser from Zimbabwe. She now makes her home in the United States, and she is going to win the women's portion of the 1989 Nice Jeep Triathlon. She comes up the ramp, and she is all smiles. The victory is hers. Paula Newby-Fraser wins the women's portion.
And her time, 6 hours, 49 minutes and 42 seconds. A little slower than Erin Baker's of last year, but a comfortable victory. We understand Sylviane is about 2 minutes back.
And while Paula Newby-Fraser wins it, 2nd place is going to a Canadian, Sylviane Puntous from Kelowna, British Columbia. The final few meters up the ramp, 6 hours, 51 minutes, and 45 seconds for Sylviane.
And what a great month it's been for her, with a 1st place in Phoenix and a 1st place in Miami and a 2nd place here today at Nice, being comforted by the winner, Paula Newby-Fraser, and helped out there by Scott Zagarino. She'll be wondering now what's happened to sister Patricia. And here she actually comes up to the finish ramp. Obviously, the final few kilometers took their toll, but she gallantly finishes it off with a 7:01 clocking to take 3rd place overall.
And Steve, I'm sure she'll be very happy with that time. Canadians finishing 2nd and 3rd, but the winner was Paula Newby-Fraser with a time of 6 hours, 49 minutes, and 42 seconds.
Congratulations, Paul. Are you generally satisfied with your performance?
Very, very happy with my performance. It was just steady. I don't think anything was exceptionally good out there. I think my swim was steady, my bike was very steady, and I just, hung in there for the run.
It was pretty close behind you, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was one time where I think it was less than a minute, about 5 miles from the end, and I just, 50 seconds or a minute is still a lot to make up if the person in front of you just keeps moving, and I just said, keep moving, don't walk, just keep moving.
How does a triathlete feel at the end of an effort like that?
Well, I tell you what, you go through so many phases out there, and inevitably one of them is, why am I doing this? I say that to myself every race. I'm like, why am I doing this for a living? But it hasn't really sunk in yet that I won this race, and I know the next few days are going to be really good. It makes it all worthwhile.
Newby-Fraser winning the women's section, 2nd place going to Canada's Sylviane Puntous.
We expect to finish top 3, both of us, but after the bike, we were so close to a Paula, and we are faster runner usually, so we was expect to catch her, but she started to have some problem, and she was very tough. Paula, at the end in the heat, she's pretty tough, but it's good.
And so another Nice Triathlon Triathlon goes into the history books. Once again, some of the best athletes in the world have answered the call and tested themselves in the water and the roads around this beautiful resort area in France. They leave with a variety of memories, and so do we.
Always a competitive race at Nice as the Riviera Resort solidifies its reputation as one.